YouTube Ozzico in the Goat House is back with some more NFL record predictions for the 2022 season. This video for the AFC South teams. We have videos for the East on both conferences and the North in both conferences. So we're on to the South, getting through these pretty quickly here, and then we'll get on to playoff predictions, Super Bowl predictions. You guys are also voting for each division winner, basically going to create a playoff field, predictions, and a future video out of that. So make sure you check us out on Twitter. Like, subscribe on the channel. That'd be much appreciated. Make sure you turn notifications on. Here's our Twitter. I just posted this poll. Probably votes coming in already. Yeah, there's the updates. Just posted this poll. So I post this every time I'm about to do one of these videos. So Colts leading the way very early over the Titans there. So things will probably change, but the NFC North one's actually still going. Only 10 minutes left, so it's going to be done by the time we're done recording this video. But using playoffpredictors.com, going game by game, I'm going to take a look at my predictions, best case scenario, worst case scenario for each team like we're doing for every team here. Starting with the Tennessee Titans, who the defense really got going at the end of last year. I thought arguably the best defense in football, maybe not in the entire year combined, but I think late in the year, I mean, they were very, very solid. So they're really getting it together there. Offensively, how will they be without A.J. Brown? They do bring in Treylon Burks. Keep hearing early in practice, early on, not too worried, but is he out of shape? I keep hearing he has to go to the locker room, but hopefully they figure that out. Should be able to. Derrick Henry coming off that injury because he didn't seem right in that playoff game. I think he's going to be fine. The guy's a monster. Can Tannehill bounce back? Can they get more going when the run game doesn't work? Some questions there, but I think it's a safe bet. The Tennessee Titans are going to be a very good regular season team. That's why I said last year, they could be a solid playoff team, but can they get over that hump? Can they get to the Super Bowl? Going to need to be a little more consistent in the passing game for that to happen. But on to the predictions. Home against the Giants. I thought this was interesting the first two games. It could almost be the same defensive game plan in a way. It sounds funny because one is Daniel Jones and one is Josh Allen, but we expect kind of similar systems there with the Brian Daboll offense coming from Buffalo to the New York Giants. So the Titans might have a similar game plan dealing with Josh Allen. Obviously, elevates that adjusted a little bit, but I think you get what I mean there. But in the first 2 weeks, I like them beating the Giants in week one. It is a different Giants team. They have a different system on both sides, so that could make the game plan tough. I just think the Titans are the much better team here. The Giants got a solid defense. Can they take away that Derrick Henry run and force them to pass? Could it be a defensive game? Possible. I think dealing with Derrick Henry week one's a little tough, though, and he had this offseason to kind of get ready, get back to 100%. Let's go with the Titans there. Titans have been very solid against the Bills last couple years. 2 primetime games back-to-back years. One was that COVID game on, I believe it was a Tuesday. They presented some big-time defensive problems or offensive problems for the Bills that year. Last year was a shootout. But I think the Bills kind of finally get the Titans here. Monday night in Buffalo, week 2. It's one of those 50-50 ones. So the Titans have matched up well against the Bills recently. The Bills were very close to getting that one last year, though. But that should be a really good game. Kind of the feeling that in Buffalo Monday night, Bills finally get over that Titans hump there. Raiders and Titans. I like the Titans in this one. I think both teams. Well, that's the thing about the Raiders, though, because they might be equally effective pass and with the run offensively, but Josh McDaniels' offense, I do think they want to run the ball quite a bit. I really like that Titans defense where they were heading at the end of last year. Let's see if it can continue. They can stop that run. I think Derrick Henry could have a day in this game, especially at home. So I'll take the Titans in that one. For the Colts, Titans-Colts, a little bit new look Colts because they got Matt Ryan in there. Got some new defensive players. I had a feeling, kind of already predetermined this. I didn't really look at the schedule, but just knowing the Titans and the Colts play twice, I kind of had the gut feeling that they'll split, and they'll split away, winning away games. That's kind of what I was feeling there. The Colts kind of just trying to adjust here in week 4 with Matt Ryan, a lot of new players on defense, new defensive coordinators. Titans can get the edge in that one. Colts kind of figure it out in week 7. So that was kind of my gut feeling there. So we kind of skipped ahead to week 7 and predicted that one. So a split of the teams we expect to battle at the top of the AFC South. Titans and Commanders. Carson Wentz. Titans gave him some problems last year. That may continue. I think it's another game where Commanders slow down Derrick Henry enough. I think the Titans now when they had the bye, they had the Colts beating them. Titans and Texans. Kind of thought the Texans can get one on the Titans again this year. So I went with the Texans at home in Week 8. Titans are very much the better team, so they could very well 2-0 them. Titans and Chiefs. This is an interesting one. The Chiefs kind of changing things up a little bit. Defensively, I think they're actually going to gear a little bit more towards not being stuck, and it was pretty much man cover 2, a lot of blitz. I feel like they're going to try to do a little bit more variety of things. Offensively, kind of the same thing. It's not just Hill and Kelsey. Hill's gone, but they have a collection of receivers. So they actually might be a little bit different. But I do worry about them stopping a run, the Chiefs that is still. I think it's a game where the Titans can go a little bit crazy there, running the ball. And then no Tyreek might be again, having no Tyreek might be, and then more receivers might be good against some teams. I don't think really, against a team like the Titans, like the way the Titans match up against the Chiefs. Broncos Titans, our very own Pigskin Pete is going to that game. He's a big Titans fan, so I'm taking the Broncos. He went to the Texans game last year, got rained on. The Texans beat the Titans, so that's how that goes. That should be a pretty good game, though. Two solid teams. I think Russell Wilson does some damage in that game. Derrick Henry could have a day in that game, though. We're going to go with the Broncos. Titans, Packers. So they dropped 2 in a row here. Thursday night in Green Bay. I think pretty similar teams where their strengths and weaknesses are. Being home in prime time is kind of the deciding factor here for me. Then Bengals, Titans. I actually had the Titans getting revenge on the Bengals. I still can't believe they lost that playoff game against them. How productive they were getting after Joe Burrow. I think they tie a sack record in the playoffs. Derrick Henry wasn't really right. Tannehill threw an interception on the first play of the game, probably their best looking drive of the game, and the last play of the game for the Titans. So I don't know if that happens again. The Bengals are getting better, though. Very good team. They could beat them. I think the Titans get revenge, though. Titans and Eagles. This is a really good game. It's an A.J. Brown, maybe revenge game, or Titans revenge on A.J. Brown for wanting to leave, maybe however you want to look at it. I think both teams are going to look to run the crap out of the ball there in this game. I was actually feeling the Eagles when I did the NFC East video. I'm going to stick to that. Kind of feeling the Eagles at home here. So it's kind of one of those games the Titans kind of let slip away. I feel like a very low-scoring game, defensive game. Teams are going to try to run the ball, run the clock, and the Eagles pull it off at home. Titans, Jags. It's a pretty good. The Jags could be sneaky this year. They could be a lot tougher. But it's a pretty good layout of the schedule for when the Titans are playing the Jags. This is where the Titans start to really heat up late in the year. In the middle of the season, it seems like they always struggle a little bit, and that's really not why I had them losing. We had them losing to Colts, Texans, Broncos, Packers, Eagles kind of in the middle portion of the season. That kind of worked out, I guess, to kind of staying true to what they do. But yeah, I think they can beat the Jags, and I think they can 2-0 the Jags based on the layout here. Titans, Chargers. I think the Chargers are going to be very, very tough this year. They were very, very bad stop and run last year. I think they improved it. They made it better. I still don't think it's going to be that good, though. I think this is a game where Derrick Henry actually goes crazy. So I'll actually take the Titans beating the Chargers. They're not going to lose twice to the Texans. I had them beating the Cowboys here in Week 17, Thursday Night Football in Tennessee. And I had them beating the Jags twice. The Jags could be tough this year. I just like this for Tennessee's sake. I don't see them dropping that last game of the year. That's the one in Jacksonville. If the Week 14 was in Jacksonville, maybe the Jags get one there, but it's in Tennessee. I like the way that's laid out for the Titans there to get 2 on them. They only get 1 on the Texans. So 11-6. Yeah, kind of a tough schedule. Kind of let a couple slip away there. But kind of going to, so 11-6 the prediction. Usually they're a sure thing of regular season teams, so maybe they feel a little bit better in that, but that's a tough schedule. But kind of best case you can do, they can continue to beat the Bills. Remember, I had them beating the Raiders, I'm beating the Colts, I'm beating the Commanders. I think we'll keep the Colts split. They could 2-0 the Colts for sure, but then we could switch the Bills one back. They could 2-0 the Texans. I remember I had them beating the Chiefs, so maybe we'll keep the Broncos and Packers one. We can have them beating the Eagles there. And remember, Pete's going to that Broncos game, so that's just a guaranteed loss. That's just how it is. 14-3, best case, and that makes sense. So 11-14. I don't think the worst case shouldn't really drop that far. This team's built to dominate the regular season, dealing with guys like Derrick Henry every week. And again, I like that defense a lot. It was really getting better at the end of last year. I think it's a very solid defense. A defensive front. Jeffrey Simmons is about to be an elite player. Harold Landry's getting going. Bud Dupree is one of the more underrated players in football. He creates for the rest of the team. And notice how the defense was getting better once Bud Dupree was in there. It's not a coincidence. Kevin Byard, arguably the best safety in football. Debatable, but he's up there. The linebackers look good. They had Cunningham last year, so I really like that defense where it's heading. Worst case, I don't think it's too much different. And it's a tough schedule, though, between the Bengals and the Chargers. That's a tough schedule. Worst case is it's tough to drop them below 9, but you can see it's kind of possible. Could they go drop all the way down to 8? It's just tough to see. I see Titans and 8 wins. They don't really go together there. But as you can see by the schedule, it's possible. I really want to put them in that 10 to 12 range, 10, 11, 12. If I want to try to narrow it down a little bit, that's kind of where I don't think they get. I just realized I had them losing twice to the Colts. I don't think they lose twice. So 9 wins is probably the bottom line there. I actually had them kind of a weird gut feeling that they'll split and no win away games. I don't think that's that weird. I think that actually happens more than you think. And then there we go. So 11 wins is where I had them, right? 11-12 is kind of really where I'm feeling for the Tennessee Titans. On to the Colts. Yeah, I can't wait to watch the Colts. Another new quarterback. So how is Matt Ryan going to be with this group? Last year they kind of adjusted a little bit for Carson Wentz. We're going to run a bit more RPO than we're used to. Now we're going to Matt Ryan. We're going to take away that RPO now. RPO could sometimes open things up for the running game. So did that open things up a lot for the running game last year? I think Jonathan Taylor, this offensive line, that offensive system is just that good where I think taking away the RPO isn't really going to affect it, but we've seen that in the past. But I just don't think that's the case. I think they're just that good running the football. But I'm curious to see that, going from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan, it's actually a bit different, but for the better. And then we take a look at the defense. The defense, very intrigued by the Colts all around because the defense on paper they definitely got better. Adding Stephon Gilmore, adding some more safeties, adding Yannick Ngakoue, young pass rushers such as Kwity Paye. Odangbo, we get to see him full time, them developing. So on paper, it sure looks like the defense got better, but you move on from Eberflus to Gus Bradley. Gus Bradley's defense was once great. It's really struggled recently. Way too much cover 3. Hopefully they switch it up a little bit. Eberflus, I thought, had the defense playing better, technically sound than where it was on paper. So I was a big fan of his. So it's interesting. I think the defense on paper a lot better. Does it actually get better with the different, not scheme because they're kind of staying in the same scheme, but different concepts for sure. So very curious about the Colts. It's one of those teams I can't wait to watch. Colts Texans, I think they're the biggest favorite in week 1 according to the betting lines. I'll take the Colts. I actually got the Jags getting one. I'll have them split. The Jags get them in week 2 actually. Yeah, they had some success against that defense late last year, but it is different. But I do think the Jags could be sneaky. They could take a step up. Chiefs and Colts. So this ends up being actually a tough start here because I have them losing to the Jags. Because I'm going to go Chiefs. I think Patrick Mahomes picks apart that Gus Bradley defense like he was doing last year. I think he could have a day down the field there. Jonathan Taylor could run wild on them. It's probably a high-scoring game. I was feeling the Chiefs. And then I had the Titans and the Colts splitting away wins. So that means the Colts starting at 1-3, though. And then they got the Broncos on Thursday night. I was kind of Thursday night in Denver. I was kind of leaning with the Broncos. I just hard to see them start like that. They very well could beat the Jags there. I feel like they were going to split, though. Then they beat the Jags here. Then Then I had them beating the Titans. So this is where they start going. I had them beating the Commanders. That's a Carson Wentz game. And the Colts, I think Reich and the Colts get Carson Wentz there. That might be a close game, though. Colts Patriots, this is the first one I'm going to switch because I did the Patriots already, and I picked the Patriots in this game. And now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, why did I do that? I think Jonathan Taylor has a day against the Patriots run defense. Maybe Belichick can create problems for Matt Ryan. I like the Colts in that one, though. I think they run all over them. Give me the Colts. Colts and Raiders. That's a good game as well. I think they're both pretty balanced. Like, they're going to run. They're going to be able to throw. Looking at the defenses, Gus Bradley's coming from the Raiders. Raiders got Patrick Graham, though. That's going to be a good game. Pretty even matchup. I think being home is the deciding factor in that one. I'm going to take Vegas. Eagles, Colts, Sirianni versus Reich. I like Reich over Sirianni. The former Sirianni worked under Reich, obviously. And then Steelers and Colts. That's a Monday night game. Give me Indy. Colts and Cowboys. I like the way the Cowboys. We picked the Cowboys in the Cowboys video, the NFC East video already. I like the way the Cowboys defense. I think they can not stop Jonathan Taylor, but slow him down enough. And I do think the Cowboys will have success offensively in this game. So can the Colts keep up in Dallas? I'm going to take the boys in that one. Stay with that pick. Bye week. I really like the way the Colts match up against the Vikings. And the this is one of those. The Vikings offense has got some weapons. They're pretty dangerous sometimes, but this is one of those matchups. I think the Colts defense actually can give them problems, slow them down, and the Colts, Jonathan Taylor, do enough to just outscore them. Obviously, I picked them, so they would be outscoring them. But I just really like the way the Colts match up against the Vikings, even though it's in Minnesota, and the Vikings could be pretty solid this year. Give me the Colts. Chargers in Colts. Oh, that's a good game. That's a good game. It's Monday night in Indianapolis. That's a good game because I think the Colts running game could present problems to the Chargers because they really struggled stopping run last year. I do think they'll be better, but how much better? But I think Herbert could have a day through the air against his Gus Bradley defense, kind of similar to what he did last year. That's a good game. It being in Indy on Monday, I was almost leaning Chargers because I think the passing, if you're that effective passing versus the running game, which I know Matt Ryan maybe could have a day. I think the Chargers secondary is going to be really good, though. Really good. They stacked it up. I think the passing team over the running team, but it's in Indy on Monday night. It just makes it dead even. I'm going to go. Give me Herbert. Or I think Herbert could have an MVP-type season. This could be that game where he can maybe make it happen here. That's a good one, though. Colts over Giants, and then Colts over Texans. I like how they finished there. So I had the Titans 2-0ing the Jags, but 1-1 against the Texans. And I kind of had the opposite. The Colts 2-0ing the Texans, 1-1 against the Jags. I think it's a good prediction. So we had 10 wins. So just one game under the Titans. I think the Colts are... I think that division really can go either way there this year. I was pretty confident with the Titans the last few years. I was accurate on that. This year, I would not be surprised if the Titans are so well built for the regular season, though, but I think the Colts are too. So it's one game different. I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts won the division. In the last few years, I've been pretty firm on the Titans. This is the year where it's like, okay, we might be able to get a little bit of change here maybe, but still, according to my game by game, I still have the Titans there, but that's gonna be close. Best case, maybe they don't. That's the thing though. I had them starting 1-4, right? 1-4. Maybe they don't do that. Maybe they don't. So what happens if they just win this game? The Titans, the Colts get the tiebreaker, 11-6. It's saying the Colts win the division then. So just like that, if I just don't have them starting 1-4, well, then the Jags game was the big one. Because they 2-0 the Jags then. So what if I switch it to like this, and the Titans get the tiebreaker? 11-6, the Titans get the tiebreaker. So pretty important game according to what I got going here. That Jags game in week 2. I do think the Jags can get one on them, whether it's this one or the week 6. So maybe it's like that. But the best case we'll go 2-0 on the Jags. Got 1-1 on the. I did switch that pick from the Patriots to the Colts, keep in mind. Did have them beating the Vikings, so I think we can switch the Chargers one. Maybe. I don't think the Colts have too big of a range. I don't see them winning more than 12 games. So I think 12-5 is kind of best case. I don't see the 13, which they can be a very solid team. And then back to what I had, which was 10-7. Worst case, they could lose twice to the Titans again. I don't really want to switch. I don't think they have two. It's a pretty obvious team on what we're going to get from them. They're not going to be bad, not even close to bad, and they're not. I don't think they're going to be like an elite team. So I think it's a team that really. I mean, we could say 8 worst case. We can switch like the Vikings one maybe. I really like the way they match up against the Vikings. The Patriots one maybe because I originally had the Patriots. So very worst case, I think 8. But I'm really feeling good about the 9, 10, 11 for the Indianapolis Colts. 9, 10, 11 is kind of where I had them. So to the Texans had them getting 0-2'd by the Colts, but beating the Titans once. Yeah, this is tough. I do think the Texans are sort of heading in the right direction. I guess I say sort of because they're solid draft. They're getting some good young players. They had 2 first-round picks. Felt like they got 2 second-round picks, even though it was a second and a third with Mechie and Christian Harris. Really like that Christian Harris pick. So I like the young talent they're bringing in. I don't love what they're doing in free agency. They're going about free agency like they still want to be in that stage 1 of the rebuild. So that's the thing with me. So I do think they're getting ready for it. They're going to be. They should be solid in the future. And they got more draft picks coming their way. Obviously from the Watson situation trade. But they could still struggle. And Davis Mills is a tricky one. That passing offense, tricky one to project because I love the way he played last year. Showed a lot of promise. But that's one where, he kind of just came in and, I could very easily see kind of going back down to, where we thought he would be or maybe in progressing and playing better. So he's very tough to predict. So I do think it could be kind of another down year here for the Texans. And they'll probably pull off some upsets. It's very tough to predict. But, yeah, starting a little tough. The Bears-Texans game was 50-50. I gave the Bears to win the Bears video. It's really a coin flip for me. Bears being home is kind of the difference. Chargers would be tough. Jags, they could split with the Jags, but to get the Jags at home. Bye week. I mean, maybe they can get the Raiders off the bye. There's going to be some upsets. Just so tough to predict. I just don't love the Texans' defense. I think that's the problem. They don't have much of a pass rush. I don't think they're much of a threat stopping a run either. And then Davis Mills, I think, will be kind of hot and cold. I had them beat the Titans Thursday night home against the Eagles. They could do it. I had the Eagles originally. I had the Giants beating them. And some of these games, like Bears and Giants, like those are 50-50 games, but, they're away. That's kind of tough. They could beat the – I kind of just want to look at the best case for the Texans already. I hate picking this many games against the team. Dolphins blitz probably be a problem for Davis Mills. Browns should have Watson unless he's out for the year here. And that one, I had the Cowboys over. This is a tough schedule, too. I had the Chiefs, and they're beating the Jags. This is only 2 wins, isn't it? They're going to win more than 2 games. That's why it's so tough to predict this. A lot of tough games. I mean, they very well could. The Bears aren't going to be. I had the Texans and the Bears at the bottom of my power ranking, so those are going to be the 2 worst teams in my projections, along with the Falcons. Maybe the Seahawks could be down there. So they could very easily win that one. Could they start the year with a win against the Colts? Possible. I don't think they beat the Jags twice. I think a 1-1. I had them splitting with the Titans. Giants. Don't think they beat the Dolphins. Don't think they beat the... I think between the Commanders and the Eagles, they can get one maybe home on Thursday night against the Eagles. So it's looking like 6 wins is the best. I would have guessed myself doing a little bit more for like the record prediction in the best case, but it's kind of a tougher schedule than I thought. I guess I haven't really looked at it. So that's pretty tough for the Texans, but I think they're still in that rebuild stage, just based off how they act in free agency. It's a bunch of one-year deals, guys that are competing for starting jobs, probably wouldn't start elsewhere. Still relying on some development from other guys, so it kind of makes sense. To the Jags, who I had splitting with the Colts, splitting with the Texans, losing twice to the Titans. The Jags could be sneaky because I like Doug Peterson. They get a better coaching staff in there. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be solid this year. They got a good running back group. They get ETN back. They improve the receiver unit. Offensive line could be a little bit of a question. I don't think it's going to be bad or anything. Defensively, they add some unique pieces. They got a lot of young. The defense could be hot and cold. I think it's a good group, a good young group. So young groups sometimes go a little cold sometimes. I think they'll stop the run at a solid level. It's just kind of the Jags. They're tough to predict because they could actually be sneaky good. I just think maybe a little bit inconsistent, and they probably won't win a whole bunch of games this year, but they're definitely heading on the right track. I already know it's a team I can have with a big range. I can see them winning like 4 games, which I'm not going to predict, or I can see them winning like 9, or could they win 10 games? I wouldn't be blown away. I really wouldn't be. What if they won the AFC South? I honestly wouldn't be. I'm not predicting it. Probably not close to predicting it. We'll see. But what if the Jags won the AFC South? I wouldn't be like mind blown. I really wouldn't be. So most people would be. I actually had them beating the Commanders in week 1, kind of a gut feeling there. Beating the Colts in week 2. So hot start. Maybe people getting a little too hyped. Tends to happen around the league. Chargers there. Eagles. Doug Peterson could beat the Eagles. I could definitely see that, but I went with the Eagles there. That's a good game, though, because the Jags might be able to stop the run, which is kind of the Eagles' game. It's a good game. Colts there. Giants and Jags. I have the Jags beating the Giants. Broncos. I think the Broncos through the air have a little bit much. Raiders and Jags. It's a good game. The Raiders are the better team, but I think the Jags might be able to take away that run. I think Lawrence could have a solid day. Give me the Jags in that one, the underdog. Take the Chiefs over the Jags in the bye week, and they got to deal with the Ravens. A little bit different type of run game with Lamar Jackson. And then beating the Lions here. A lot of these we already predicted. We're kind of getting to that point where I already know my predictions because we've done those videos. Jags, Cowboys. Yeah, I like the Cowboys. I think Dak has the day. Jets and Jags, I think, are pretty even teams. They're kind of heading in the same path. I like the Jets' defense a little bit better. That'll be the difference there Thursday night in New York. So we only had 6 wins, actually. So I thought I was going to have more than that for the Jags. They're getting there, though, for sure. For the best case, I did have them beating the Commanders in week 1. Had them starting 2-0. I think they could definitely beat the Eagles. I had them beating the Raiders, keep in mind, so we won't switch one like that. Beat the Jets, and they could get one of the Titans. So best case, 9. I said 10 I could possibly see, but 9. The worst case, I don't really want to drop too much. I think it's like 5. I don't 4 maybe, but I really don't see it. I think they're going to be. I don't even see 5 really. 5, 6, 7, 8. If you had to narrow it down, 6, 7, 8 in that range, they could be sneaky though, because if Trevor Lawrence just wakes up and is that guy that we thought he was going to be, and remember the young quarterbacks figure it out early on these days. Josh Allen, Herbert, Mahomes, etc. Joe Burrow, we keep going on. So what if Lawrence is just that guy? I mean, some people were calling him the best quarterback prospect since John Elway, something like that. So what if he just wakes up this year? He's that Trevor Lawrence, and that's a dangerous team. So Jags are very tough to predict. It's just kind of really on that and how they click, because it's a new offense, new defense again. Second year straight. That's tough. So how are they going to click with that situation? They could be sneaky. It's one of the sneakier teams. That's tough. I don't like predicting win 6 games because I think they can win more. That's kind of what I did, though. I can't really change it now. I think it's realistic they can hit this best case. I do think the 9 wins. I think that's pretty realistic. That's a tough one to predict. It's very, very tough to predict the Jags. So that's a team the Colts. I can't wait to watch the Colts. I can't wait to watch the Jags because I want to see how Trevor Lawrence is. I want to see how Doug Peterson is. That defense, how they're going to use Walker, Devin Lloyd. Those are kind of Swiss Army knife type players, versatility. How are the young players going to develop? So I'm very, very excited to watch the Jags. ETN in the mix finally. New receivers. The more I'm talking about, the more I'm thinking they could be decent here. I think there's going to be inconsistencies. How will they click? Again, kind of like a fresh start for second year in a row. That's a little tough. You can't ask too much from that. So definitely heading in the right direction. I think this could be a team of the future. Just Trevor Lawrence has to get to where he needs to be, where we thought he would be. That's kind of the thing there. So Titans win the division by 1 over the Colts. That's a tough one. I think the Colts have like I said, I think the Colts have a very good shot to win a division this year, and I didn't really think so the last few years. Even though they were kind of close, I did not really think so. I thought it was firm Titans, which I was accurate, but this year I think it kind of can go either way. But we'll see. We will see. That'll be it for the AFC South record predictions. Tomorrow will be the NFC South, and then we only have 2 more after that, just the West divisions there. So, hopefully you join us for that. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Follow us on Twitter. You guys are voting for the playoff field and eventually predictions. Link down below for that. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.